Hi, it's Rod, and this one's called What Jesus is Trying to Say Today for March 19th, 2020. So I'll try to explain a few things that Jesus wants to try to say to Christians today. But he's trying to say to me. Well, the first thing Jesus said to me today was, wash in my blood. It's like you got to go to Jesus' blood car wash or something. You know how you need maybe disinfectant on your hands or something, or soap or something? Well, you got to wash in Jesus' blood to be protected from whatever enemies or problems you have in this world. The wrath of God, you have to have the blood of Jesus stopping that. I don't have to go to hell because Jesus died on the cross to take my punishment for me, so I don't have to go. It's like a courtroom case or something. I'm sentenced to eternal hell by the judge God for my sins or something. Jesus stands up in the courtroom and says, I'll go to hell for Rod. The judge says, okay, so Jesus kind of goes and takes my punishment of hell or whatever, and I get to go free from the courtroom today because Jesus took my punishment for me. Jesus' blood takes all God's wrath or punishment for my sins away. So what Jesus is trying to say to me today is, wash in my blood, get closer to me. Nobody gets close to God unless they come through Jesus' sacrifice on the cross to take their sins away and make them as righteous as Jesus is as a gift. The blood cleanses you from all sin, the gift of Jesus' righteousness. I'm not trying to wait to see if I can obey the law enough to get closer to Jesus. I'm just going to say, I'm coming close to you through your blood. I'm going to take communion now, Jesus. Same thing. Give thanks to him for the greatest thing he ever did for me, die on a cross and shed his blood for me. Die on the cross and shed his blood for me. So Jesus is saying, wash in my blood for protection or safety in this evil and suffering world. It's like blood on the doorpost with Egypt and Israel, so that this plague of death that was coming on the firstborn of Egypt didn't have to hurt them, destroy them. Like God's good coronavirus trial for the world now. So it's like we got to be getting close to Jesus through the blood. We got to be asking him what's most important to do now, Jesus. We should have been close to Jesus, listening to him months ago, getting ready for this. I've been trying to get ready for something like this for about 10 years now or something. Because I've been close to Jesus, and he's been telling me, well, if this happens, then you got to be kind of prepared or something. It's like I was trying my first visit out during sort of like this self-quarantine thing lately to a drugstore. So I put on a rain suit, a mask, a pair of glasses. I was cleaning my hands off and spraying mouthwash into my mouth and some colloidal silver down my nostrils or something. I went to the store to try to get 5 things of butter, and then I was going to freeze 4 of them. When I got to the drugstore, there was no butter. But I'm prepared. I had lots of olive oil. So you got to have the olive oil instead of the butter, I guess. And that's what Jesus is trying to tell me. You're got to start to make some changes in your life. It's not going to be the old kind of world you were once experiencing or something, at least for months or who knows how long. Just learn to be happy with Jesus in the quarantine. Like Daniel in slavery, or Joseph in slavery, or Paul in a rat-infested prison. So Jesus is trying to tell me that this is a good trial. He's going to try to save some people through it, which wouldn't get saved without it. He's trying to get some of his children to get more serious about obeying him, who wouldn't if they didn't have a coronavirus trial. It's like Peter wouldn't have developed much faith in God unless Jesus says, get out of the boat and walk on the water. Peter, trust in me, not you. Thing, or the boat during the storm or something. Why are you so afraid? I'm here. I control everything. Stop storm. That's what you have to believe. The King of the universe can dwell in you. Jesus said there's nothing too difficult for him to do. So it's a chance to get closer to God, closer to Jesus, to get greater rewards, suffering love awards. for faith in God, for obedience to God, that you wouldn't get if everything was going fine and you were straying away from God and the prosperity or something. It's like a wake-up call to have more faith in God, less faith in yourself, more supernatural love, joy, and peace, less your own emotional fear, depression, anger, or whatever. Or trying to find your happiness from the things of the world. You can't do that much anymore. I can't eat butter now. Well, I got a few butter in the fridge still. And lots of olive oil. You got to believe God's in control. He had this plan before it happened. He had a plan before I was born. It's for such a time as this that he wants this happening. He's in full control. You can't trust a God unless you believe he's in full control of everything. And he is. He made me in the womb. He's keeping my heartbeat going still. He could raise the dead. He could speak a word and the storm disappears, or your enemies disappear. Like the sufferings and tribulations in the Bible, faith trials, like it talks about in James 1. Count it all joy when you have difficulties way beyond your control. It's a chance to develop faith in God, which is good for you. It's like the problem with the angel of death coming and killing the firstborn virus or whatever it was. It was like Moses at the Red Sea with the Egyptian army chasing him. Trouble, tribulation, good for them. Learn faith through it. Daniel in a lion's den can be good for you. Joseph in slavery or in prison, or Paul in prison, or Apostle John in prison can be good for you. Goliath with David or something can be good for you. It can get you closer to God. It's like Jesus is saying that without tribulation or something, people stray from him. It's dangerous. Drop dead and go to hell forever. Miss out on great rewards in heaven because you didn't obey God much in the prosperous times. So fear comes from trying to trust in yourself, not God, and when you start to trust in God, not you, then the fear disappears and peace comes. Sort of like Martha trusting in herself, or Mary trusting in Jesus. Jesus is here, I'm not afraid, Martha. Or Martha saying, I'm afraid I'm not doing enough good works. Mary, come over and help me. Type thing. And Jesus said, Mary's chosen the best thing. Get closer to him. Even if you're fasting. Who cares about the food, Martha? Type thing. Martha was going to food for happiness. Mary was going to Jesus for happiness. Mary chose the best thing. That's what we need to do, even if we're fasting today or something. So if we're trying to follow Jesus today, if we haven't understood how to live in a changing world, sort of like how to be sort of like a prepper or something, or how to get your needs supplied when the supply chain goes down or something. Well, you got to ask Jesus. He's a perfect prepper, or he's the perfect provider. You got to get close to him. You got to say, Jesus, what's most important to think or do now? And start thinking the way he wants you to think. The most important things to think about in your conscious mind. Or do what he's telling you to do and trust that he can give you the power to do it. Jesus, I need some butter. I need some food. I need some toilet paper or something. So you can substitute olive oil, if you can find it, for butter. If you can't find the butter, you could maybe get some old rags and some soap or something instead of toilet paper. You got to ask Jesus, what am I going to do? It's like everything changed overnight. I can't go to the store anymore. I can't go to my job anymore. But Jesus can lead you. My sheep hear my voice and know them to follow me. Jesus wants to lead everybody into taking care of their needs, like it talked about in Matthew. Don't worry about anything. Your Father in heaven can feed you and clothe you like the children of Israel in the desert for 40 years. And he's trying to teach us to stop trying to get your happiness from the things of the world. Start getting your happiness from him. Like Paul in the rat-infested prison, happy with Jesus. Us in quarantine, happy in Jesus type thing. And it's like Daniel could be in slavery and get awesome revelations from God. John could be in prison and get awesome revelations from God. Paul could be in prison and get awesome revelations from God. I could be in quarantine and get awesome revelations from God that I never had before. It's like in the Daniel experience, it was like there's a war going on in the heavenlies. Keep the truth from Daniel. Keep the truth from Daniel. Daniel's fasting and praying, and eventually the angels win against the demons or something, allow them to bring the truth to Daniel or something. The more you seek Jesus, the more you find Jesus. The more you seek his wisdom, the more you understand it. The more you obey Jesus, the more you look like Jesus. The more you disobey Jesus, the more you look like Satan or whatever. So then you have to kind of learn. I put on this sort of like a light rain suit. It's not yellow or anything. It's just like blue or something. Like a jogging thing or something. And I put on a mask and a pair of glasses, and it had a hood on it or something. Went to the drugstore to look for butter. Couldn't find any butter. Couldn't find any eucalyptus essential oil. And got some baking soda, though. Baking soda is good to keep your pH level in a good state for viruses. And then I'd take colloidal silver, put it up my nose, or spray some mouthwash in, or I got some hand sanitizer going in. You could have a mask around your neck. When you go in the store, put it on. When you come out, take it off again, type thing. Well, it's like, it may not be that necessary just right yet, but in the future, if people are dropping down the streets like China, then you want to try to protect yourself a bit more. You got to ask Jesus about this stuff. Jesus, is it important to go out to the drugstore today or not? If he says no, you don't go. If he says yes, go, or to visit somebody who's sick to help out or something. And trying to clean yourself off with disinfectant and stuff, soap and water and everything, when you come in, when you go out or something. You just get in the habit of doing that now. Because this kind of virus seems to be, you could catch it a lot of times or something. You get rid of it once, it comes back or something, or you got a light dose of it, you're getting a heavy dose of it now or something. It's like I just got out of the drugstore. I pulled down my mask, and some guy came around the corner coughing his lungs out right in front of me. I say, help me, Jesus. Be covered in the blood or something. You just try to do whatever Jesus is telling you to do. Even if you catch the virus, he can heal you of the virus. Even if you die from the virus, he can raise you up from the dead from the virus, or whatever he wants to do to build faith in him, not you, type thing. We can be full of joy in Jesus' presence in a quarantine. None of it has to bother us. If we're getting our happiness from being closer to Jesus, like Paul in the rat infested prison, we can get closer to Jesus in a quarantine. It doesn't have to bother us. So, and then Jesus is trying to say that this is a preparation time. This is a preparation time to learn to have more faith in him, see him do more miraculous things for us. And then if he wants us to, at some time in the future, to go out and preach and do miracles as a church leader or something, as an obedient to God church. It's like Jesus was saying to me that this is an opportunity for people to become more like God wants to create them to be. Closer to Jesus, let Jesus live through them, Christ-like. Whereas if you're living in times of prosperity, people usually stray away from God in those times. When trouble hits, like you're going into a lion's den, Daniel, it can get people to be closer to God through these things. There's a storm starting up in the boat. Get closer to Jesus. He controls it. He controls the coronavirus trial. Anyways, so that's what I'm trying to kind of prepare for. Try to keep myself safe with Jesus. He's the best prepper. He's the best doctor or whatever for everything. Do what he tells me to do. Let him do what he wants to do in my life. Prepare me. Learn what he wants me to teach me now so I might be able to teach it to people later. Preach and do miracles. And if there's people on the internet watching these videos or something, they need to let Jesus teach them some powerful truths so that they can get closer to Jesus, so that he might be able to send them out in the future to preach the truth and do miracles, to try to, because this whole trial is about trying to help to save some people that aren't saved yet, or to strengthen the faith of some people that are saved so they don't apostasy when things get worse. And it's an opportunity. If people have never learned the truth of God, they can start to learn it through being on the internet, or if they've never learned to prepare for times like this, they can start to learn how to handle this kind of supply damage to the supply chain, how to survive more, what kind of food to get, or it's both how to eat differently, and it is how to have more faith in God than yourself differently. So Jesus is trying to teach us new ways to do things today, new ways to go to the pharmacy with some kind of protection on, new ways to do without butter, that kind of stuff, new ways to do without toilet paper. But if you're still on the internet, you can learn, you can let Jesus teach you things through his word, through maybe teachers like me, or through people that can teach you about prepping or handling situations like this, instead of just feeling fearful with Satan teaching you lies. God can't be good if you're suffering, or if there's a coronavirus or something. No, God can be good all the time, even if you're in a lion's den, fiery furnace, on an island of Patmos, prison or something like John, getting great revelations from the Holy Spirit. It can be exciting, getting closer to Jesus in a difficult, changing society. So you got to say, Jesus, help me to change. What's most important to think about? What's most important to do? Give me the power to do it, type thing. Get closer to Jesus, become more like him. Conquer this tribulation, this trial. Don't be conquered by it. Not Satan saying God can't be good if you're suffering, and you should fear and be depressed and angry and stuff like that. No, full of love, joy, peace. Dance with Jesus around it. So that's a bit of what Jesus is trying to say to Christians today, or say to me today. And I'll try to put a video on about some visions I've had in the past, which can relate to this kind of experience we're going through now. God prepared me with visions in the past, and put on some kind of encouraging Christian music video at the end also. So that's a bit about what Jesus is trying to say to me today. So we have to like what God likes. We need to want to do his will rather than our own. If he says go to a cross, we should go to a cross. If he says you got to deal with a lot of sickness, poverty, and death, destruction around you, then that's what we have to do. It's like a vision I had that I was at a beach one time, and it's like I was sitting in a lawn chair on the beach, and Jesus was sitting in a lawn chair on the beach. And there was a big storm going on with lightning, and it was dark, and I seen these women weeping, and I looked over and there was babies drowning in the water, and then I looked over at these people by these fire barrels like hobos or something, starving. And it kind of shocked me, and I looked at Jesus, and he just said, now it's time to preach and do miracles. So it's like when they get into prodigal son's pig pen, or they come under the judgment of God, some people start to wake up to the truth message, where in times of prosperity, they may be spiritually deaf and spiritually blind to it. Like Jesus said about people from the cross, he said, they don't know what they're doing crucifying me. They're so messed up from sin and confusion and Satan that they want to act wicked and not understand the consequences of it. So, when we think of God using wicked governments to punish us, we can think of Babylon, we can think of Egypt. When Israel was wicked, they were handed over to their enemies for slavery or death. But God can help you through it, like he helped Daniel through Babylon slavery, or helped Joseph through Egyptian slavery. So it's like a worldwide Babylon or something. So like a satanic world empire government trying to control the world for Satan. And God allows them to do that. It's not Satan's fault. It's not God's fault. It's wicked people's fault. If they would do what God wants them to do, they could get the blessings from Deuteronomy 28 instead of the punishments from God from Deuteronomy 28. So it's like God has to punish all these wicked people. Like Jesus said, a few enter the kingdom of heaven. Most people go down the road of destruction to hell. Most people are wicked. A few people are righteous. And God has to try to protect the righteous, like Noah on the ark. Well, he punishes the wicked, like people drowning outside the ark. So the future looks like a lot of punishment for a lot of wickedness. Ever since World War II, people have just been getting wickeder and wickeder and wickeder. And don't let Satan say you can't be happy now because you got suffering in your life or the world's falling apart. An economic collapse or rioting or apostasy or World War III or something, or the Great Tribulation coming. If it's happening, God wants it to happen. He's in full control. World War I, God was in full control. World War II, God was in full control. World War III, he'll be in full control still. It's like when it says in the scriptures, when Satan comes in like a flood, God raises up a standard of power against him. It's like Moses at the Red Sea. You don't need to see the miracle until you need the miracle. So if I don't need the Red Sea to part to save me from an enemy chasing me, then I don't need to see that yet. If I do need to have the Red Sea parted for me to escape from an Egyptian enemy, then it'll happen. It's like a vision I had. It's just like asking God, what does the future look like, Jesus, and getting an answer back. So I had this vision. I was sitting beside Jesus on a park bench. I asked him the question, what does the future look like, Jesus? And he said to me, economic collapse, famine, rioting, apostasy, and World War III. And I was kind of frightened by that, or said, that doesn't sound so great a future. But then it turned into a vision of me dancing with Jesus around World War III, and there's people getting shot and tanks and bombs going off. And Jesus just says to me over dancing, don't let it bother you, I control it. And then I felt peace. So it's learning, if you're going to prepare for God's judgments on the wicked, which they're not going to be able to handle, and it's just going to destroy them, because God destroys the wicked. But he helps the righteous out when he's punishing the wicked, like the story of Noah. So we have to try to be like a happy Noah. We've got to be hearing God say to us what we need to do to get prepared for what's coming, and just do what he tells us to do. And trust in him fully to help us through it and bring good out of it for us and make us happy in it. Help us not be bothered by it. God has to punish wicked people. It's all through the Bible, and days of Noah, Sodom and Gomorrah. Israel with Babylon slavery. We're in sort of like a satanic world empire, Babylon, and they're trying to take us into slavery. But you could be like Daniel in slavery or Joseph in slavery. God's with you, helping you through it, bringing good out of it for you. So you got to believe that it's not just you going through all this stuff by yourself. You're doing it with Jesus. You're doing it with God, King of the universe. He's in control of the world inside of you. Like Paul said, it's no longer I that live, it's Christ who lives in me. So you've got to have that understanding from God. I am with you. I control the world. I got to punish the wicked. I want to help you out like Noah in the ark or whatever. So he's trying to teach us, get his bride prepared for what's coming.
I want to be more like you every day, and bless those who put stumbling blocks in my way. I want to see through your eyes when I sing. I want to love my enemies. I want to be more like you every day, and open my arms to the ones who betray. To walk one more mile and to give, not receive. This is the love you gave to me. I've been rejected, but I'm not alone. I'm dead to this world, but it's not my home. Trouble, perplexed, but not in despair. When I die to me,